poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
Ben, it occurs to me that possibly in the near future here, almost by default, I might get to host a few episodes of the Pop here.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Do tell.
Well,
explain yourself.
It seems to me that you are on the precipice of becoming a father. And that in that scenario, we might have some guest other people on the show. And if that's the case, it just seems fitting that I would be the host if you weren't here.
Well.
Does it not?
I think it would be required to be I think I could allow it as long as the clarification is I'm the stand-in host this week because the host is away. Because there is no determination as of yet that I won't be here. But I would like to have a contingency plan in place.
Right.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Right. Which I have to tell you though, because I as we are getting so close. So as of recording now, we're halfway through 36 weeks pregnancy, and it's been really interesting because I have been spending basically every available weekend for probably the last 5 weekends at least.
Yeah.
Doing just about nothing other than prepping the house in some capacity for her arrival home.
Yeah.
So literally, I thought this was really funny, but on Sunday, I woke up, went downstairs, vacuumed the entire downstairs, and then used our Swiffer, wet jet mop thing that can clean the hardwood floors and all that. Did the whole thing, whatever. And then not 2 hours later, Alice, not knowing that I had already done it, did the exact same thing.
Oh, man.
She literally went and vacuumed, and she was like, "Where's the wet jet? I'm gonna go ahead and just hit the floors too while I'm at it." And I'm like,
already did it.
Yeah, so she just did it again.
What?
That
she
is
did it again.
Yeah, that's the stage that we're at in prep. It's that I feel like we're at this point in time. We are really splitting hairs on final details that we could be doing in addition to just otherwise keeping Alice happy and healthy,
right?
For the remaining few weeks and everything. She does have a yoga ball, which is now her favorite seat in the house. She's
right,
just been,
a little bouncing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, it's odd because everybody kind of refers to this nesting mentality, which makes a lot of sense to me. But I can't believe how much it's affecting me.
Yeah.
Because I last night. We were sitting at home. We had finished eating dinner, and we were just on our screen and porch. And I'm just we had nothing to do. Our house is spotless. All of the laundry is done. All of the dishes are put away. Mm-hmm. Her clothes have all been pre-washed and are hanging in her closet according to size. All of the little bins and boxes have been labeled. And I'm just sitting there, and I think that I've been so go, and it just doesn't seem possible to me that we're just that at this point in time you can just rest assured that you're ready.
Right.
That I also can't sit still.
Right.
I'm sitting there, on the screen and porch, and Alice is just sort of scrolling on her phone, and I'm like, so what do I need to do? Should I try to refinance the house real quick? While, we got a couple minutes here,
right.
And to be honest with you, those are legitimately the things that I'm looking at. It's I need to find something to do. There needs to be something to do.
I think honestly, you've done a very good job prepping your house and getting ready. It sounds like, and I think you're at a stage where you you can just sit down and just enjoy the last few days, possibly weeks of calm.
I know. Well, and I saw that you have written in the notes here that road trips without the kids is magic.
Oh, for sure.
And so I saw this note and I was like, this is so funny because right now I almost feel like I am struggling with the exact opposite because I'm fairly certain I know the underlying message of this particular detail, which is that being able to go on a road trip where you're not managing your 3 boys is it's unreal how much easier it is.
That is exactly the message.
Yes. And so the sensation that I feel like I have very much been feeling is that this it's not really single life, bachelor life, the kid free life, if you will. It's almost like this is not going to be my reality going into the future. And so I feel like I keep having to like hold myself back from kid-free related plans where like, again, I'll be talking to Allison. I'm like, maybe we should book a trip to Alaska soon, and it's like,
right.
Or maybe that's going to be real hard for a few years and table that, circle back.
Right.
Eventually.
Right. And then it'll be even more fun.
Exactly. Because she'll be there.
Exactly.
But I'm in this like limbo space that is like literally, I've stopped being able to like really think like I don't have a child, but I also still don't yet have a child.
You're in a very weird space because certainly you're right. At the moment, you don't like, she's not here yet, but Alice, I assume, is in a stage where you effectively can do none of the things you would typically do as a non-pregnant couple.
Exactly. That's the other things. Yeah. So on top of everything else, not only can I not like lay groundwork for weeks, months to come under that like kid-free lifestyle, but it's also like Alice can't do any of the things that we would typically do during the prime of our kid-free lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it's you're exactly right with that. Where it's you're kind of like, well, should we could go to a brewery, but probably not.
Yeah, it's like not much fun for you.
Yeah, it's like we could.
I guess you can talk to people.
Right? Yeah. Is that good? Or like or even just like the idea of just going for like a nice long walk.
Right.
Even that, it's kind of like, she's like, I just don't think I'm up for it. And it's like, that makes sense. Like, you got a lot going on. And so I understand completely, but I myself am like in this space where I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Like, and so I don't know. I mean, I've been looking at sheds for my driveway, where I'm like, well, maybe I can go and like set up a shed so I can move all the garden tools out of the basement and into the shed. That way, like the basement's more open and available for some other activity that we've never considered doing down there before.
Yeah, right. I don't know what I need that space for, but I needs it. Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know. So I'm just restless. That's
what it sounds like.
Yeah. I need things to do. I need something to do that feels productive.
Yeah.
Because that's the other problem is that I just don't think my brain will let me just go like have fun. Like I don't think that is like because like we talked about it last week, like Diablo 2 is out.
Yeah.
Like finally it's been remastered. I've wanted it for so long.
It's
like,
here. You have free time.
You have nothing to do.
You're about to not have free time.
Go play the game,
just
man.
Enjoy it, man. You can do it.
I can't do it.
You can do it, Ben.
I'm struggling.
I have faith in you.
I know. This is like the brain walls. My brain walls are in the way.
You gotta smash through them. You gotta Name of the Wind, Denna playing the harp through the walls.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what you gotta do.
That was a good analogy.
Yeah. Thank you.
And good for bingo cards.
Good
the
for
world
bingo.
over.
Well,
Okay.
I started listening to Name of the Wind again this past weekend, so.
Oh, okay. So
I'm
you're
back in.
you're
back in.
Nice.
I'm deep.
That's good. I've actually been awaiting the baby's arrival to start my next re-listen so that I could like use it at like nights and stuff like that when I'm awake with her.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
Yes.
Well, I will say this though. Last night I did have to get up to tend to Nick, who was crying, and I was like, okay, well, good news. The great thing about having an audiobook I'm listening to is that I don't mind getting up to go tend to the babies as much because I can just like pop in an AirPod, head down the hall, and just sort of like sit there for like 15 minutes and rock them to they're like really solid back asleep, and at least I'm listening to something.
Right.
You know, but last night it just so happened that as I got up was as Trappist is telling his story about Taylewin and Canis, and I'm like, boy, I wish I was more awake for this story right now because I know there's lots of real deep things I need to be paying attention to.
The most deepliest.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
things.
It's like, okay, all right, focus.
If you're a Name of the Winder, focus on that chapter.
You get it.
But yeah, no. So it's that's going to be good. I think I'll have that.
Yep, you'll have that.
Okay, but so then if I want to transition the topic a little bit, like into entering the idea of parenthood, there is this thought lately that I think has been there. There was a very major thing that happened here in the world that got like an enormous amount of publicity that sort of like led me down this path. And so I want to be crystal clear that before I give this example, I'm not defending this person.
I'm curious.
It is mostly just something where I think it is the most ludicrous example that you could possibly think of that was also publicly criticized, at least by some people. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll lead with that just because I want to tread real careful as we enter this next bit of conversation. But one of the thoughts that I've had is like as the baby gets here and as she gets older and as I'm able to like help her achieve whatever it is she wants to do in the world, it's brought me back to the sentiment of follow your dreams. Like people have said this.
Oh yeah.
My whole life. They've been like, follow your dreams, you know, like whatever they are, like you can do it. Like I believe in you. Like,
yeah.
Like as if they want you to achieve your dreams. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I think the underlying sentiment behind achieving your dreams or telling somebody to follow their dreams is that it's like a very positive thing to be able to say, but I'm curious if people actually mean it.
I think, yeah, it often comes across, to me, it just sounds like an innocuous, like piece of advice.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, I hope that whatever you want to do out there in the world, you can do. But I think, and this is why this particular example stood out to me in such a big way, it is sort of this like billionaires race to space. Are you familiar with how this is sort of a thing that's like happening right now?
I'm familiar with, there's a couple of, billionaires out there who have their own space companies who are trying to get up there. Yeah,
like effectively attempting to maybe lay the groundwork for more like recreational based space travel.
Okay.
I think. But the reason that this example stood out to me is because I think that there's, and reasonably so, an amount of criticism that comes towards this to the tune of, like, there are so many other problems in the world that, like, maybe is this where this much resource should be placed?
Right, okay.
When that resource could then otherwise be assigned to these other things that could then be so much more productive towards helping society as a whole.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like it feels like a very individual based desire for the sake of getting to say like you were the first blank to go to space or whatever.
Right.
Because it's an accolade that we have put in a certain amount of importance on. But the thing that struck me about this particular example is, and again, because it's so like wildly exponential in nature.
Yeah.
It's not like, one day I hope to grow up and become an architect. And then, you go to school and for architecture and you become an architect like our good friend John did.
Yeah.
Like that's a very like, that was his dream and he did that dream and he's living that dream.
Yeah.
Like
he's an architect.
He's an architect. We do YouTube for a living. And so obviously like those things are not like there is a need for it. It makes sense. Your goal, your dream was to fulfill a need in society, basically. But what I go back to is this thought of if you were sitting down in front of these people like in kindergarten and they told you like one day I want to be able to go to space, like people who were born in the 60s, and so therefore shortly thereafter or in kindergarten, like when we landed on the moon, for example.
Sure.
It's like this could be the type of thing that in your childhood marked an incredibly like substantial human accomplishment.
Yeah.
And as a result, you might be like, I want to go to space someday. Like it's literally like as close as we can get to reach for the stars.
Yeah. I think lots of kids, dream when they're little is I want to be an astronaut. Like maybe, you don't, when you're a kid, you don't fully comprehend the full, scope of what it takes to become an astronaut.
Yes.
But I think it's a pretty common aspiration of, under 10-year-olds.
Yes. And I think that's the thing is there's a rather significant amount of like dreaminess about a child's goal, especially if it's go to space.
Yeah.
Because you as the adult might be able to say like, I'm so glad that you were thinking of a goal that is fun and big like that.
Yeah.
Like you are being just like ambitious with your goal. You're thinking about something that would be like otherworldly, again, literally. But like the interesting thing about it would almost be like, okay, focus on this 6-year-old who is in kindergarten, who has drawn a picture of the moon and a small stick figure of themselves, like looking up at it and holding it up to the teacher and being like, I want to go to space someday, and being like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then also fast forwarding to the future where that same individual has basically made it possible to maybe not specifically go to the moon, but to go to space. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's odd because it's sort of like, follow your dreams as long as they don't make it there. You know, like, does that make sense?
I think I know what you're saying. Like it, like in regards to the example of someone building a private rocket to go to space.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like,
which again, I know is silly.
Is ludicrous. Right. Like if you were a kid and you were like, I want to build my own rocket when I grow up and go to space.
Yes.
Right. Like you as the adult might say, that's an adorable dream. I hope you do it. I hope you're able to build yourself a rocket one day.
Yes.
However, you get to adulthood and you realize that in order, like you the adult don't take into account that the only way, like, first of all, you probably just assume it's impossible.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, good for you. That's going to require, but
that's what I mean.
That's the thing. It's like
follow your dreams. I know you won't do it.
Yeah.
But.
I was just like, well, because like if you were the adult, like as far as you're concerned, the only way anything gets into space is via like NASA or whatever, like the, national space program of the country you're in is.
Yes.
There is no such thing as private space travel.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
But if so when you get there though, it's like the only way this is even possible is if you allocate tons and tons and tons and tons of resources towards a thing that is maybe fulfilling like a personal dream of yours, but is that the responsible thing to do? Is that the question? Like, yeah, follow your dreams as long as it doesn't like
negatively impact anybody else at any point in time.
It's very weird because like I can even see like a 13-year-old like maybe 10 years ago being like, I think it's not impossible that recreational space travel is possible in my lifetime, and I think I would like to be, I'm going to be ambitious enough to make it my goal to create a company that offers that to Earth. Like that's what I want to give the world. Like I can see like the starry-eyed dreams of like a young teenager thinking that to themselves.
Right.
Like I think it's possible and I think I can make it happen. Like who knows? You as the adult, I'm sure would be like, okay, all right, whatever. But if that person really follows that, they're probably going to realize the only way to even come close to do that is with either bucos and bucos of investors or to be hyper successful in a way that almost no one's ever been in order just to fund such a dream.
Right. Yeah. And I suppose like the very flip side of the argument end of it, like where you'd be like supportive of this idea would almost be like, how would you feel if like that 6-year-old took that drawing of them looking up at the moon as a kid, kept it in their pocket, and every single day of their entire life was like, whatever I do, every single thing I do is on this mission.
Right.
Like I am trying to do one thing, and that one thing is to go to space. And the other end of this too is that like if it is your dream and so personally so important to you, I suppose there's something to be said for the fact that like just because it's your dream doesn't mean it can't be criticized.
Sure.
So there is that. I suppose it's just sort of like at what point in time do we look like with misty eyes at the child who's reaching for the stars versus the person who has literally achieved the ability to do it?
Right. I think, I don't know. It's hard to know whether or not the people doing it today dreamed of this as children and set out as their whole life's goal to do it, or whether or not they just have more money than anyone could ever possibly need. And they're like, what could I do? And I think that's probably what is happening and what people are actually criticizing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a very fair way to put it. But the reason I brought all that up anyway, though, is because you and I were just having a conversation the other day about sort of the unusual impact that some childhood experiences that we have had on like the way that we feel the nostalgia here as adults. Like you and I were discussing both Pokemon cards and again Diablo 2 through this like lens of, would it be so cool that now as adults we have the ability to just buy Pokemon cards in the capacity that we are? Like, would I even want them if it hadn't been for that childhood, like misty-eyed feeling of like going to bed at night having bought a single pack of Pokemon cards, or your parents having bought you one, and being like, maybe someday I'll be able to buy as many as I want.
Right. There was, I think that affected me like a lot. There was always, it seemed like whatever it was that I really liked as a kid, and I always wanted to be able to just consume it as much as I possibly wanted to. And it always seemed like, and I, through no fault of like anyone's other than of no one's,
right.
It just wasn't possible based on like, schedules or money, or, we had mom had 3 kids or whatever the case may be. But it wasn't like, like when you were a kid, if like when we liked Pokemon cards, like it was probably something I was thinking about all the time. And the amount that I think maybe, we ever, but it didn't feel like we got them very often. Like to say we got like averaged getting like even a pack a week would feel like generous.
More, yes, yeah, like more than we actually did. And I think you and I were talking about this the very first time that as adults we were like, okay, let's do like a Pokemon card unboxing on the gaming channel. This will be fun. Like we can just buy like a whole bunch of them. So we bought like 2 booster boxes, which is there are 36 packs in each one, so it was 72 packs. Those 72 packs that we bought that one day was probably more than me, you, and Tyler had collectively as kids total ever.
Right.
And this would have like represented like, a significant portion of our childhood like fascinations.
Yeah.
Like this was like something that like we can absolutely go back to the era in our childhood where it was like we were really into Pokemon cards during this period of time.
Yeah.
Like, that was a thing. So the thought being now is that like, is the only way that you are able to achieve so much like enjoyment as an adult being able to do this is because in some small way you are fulfilling what was a childhood dream. Like what was the...
I do think there is a certain amount of that like happening at play. Because it wasn't like, like as a kid, like, I do wonder like if for my birthday one year, mom had gotten me, 2 booster boxes or something, would that have been enough to like fill that cup for my childhood on this thing and just be like, I got it. That was that. I am as
I have all the cards.
I was as fulfilled as I could have ever been in this, and I will continue to enjoy it. But I can like put it in my, I will be able to like put it in my past successfully someday. Whereas like as an adult, it was like I basically like that's the seeds were there. The seeds were planted to want these things, and I never ended up like getting them in like the way that like my young heart desired.
Exactly.
Which is perhaps unreasonable. But now as an adult, it's like that seed never stopped growing.
Exactly.
And it's like, and now the tree is really, really big.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so now it's like, as an adult, we're able to just dig into it again as like this renewed hobby 20 something years later.
Yeah.
And just like, and truly enjoy it in a very similar capacity to what we did, as like 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, around the period of time that we would have been consuming this type of stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Probably the first time around. Although on the note of Pokemon cards, literally before we sat down, I saw that Pokemon has announced that they are bringing back like the official like play Pokemon. Like you can go to tournaments and get league points or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you can like officially participate in like a in a way where you can score points week after week and like be invited to like big invitational tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
By Pokemon and stuff. So I'm like, and that's happening in early 2022. I'm fairly excited about it because I feel like, oh man, all the groundwork we've been laying for the past year or so collecting all these cards, I feel like now maybe we'll actually be able to put it to the test.
This is
actually like, here we go. The game is the foot.
The game is the foot. Like, yeah, the question is like, are you more well equipped to become a professional Pokemon trading card game player than you have ever been in your entire life?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. I think I'm at least more well equipped than anyone could hope to be in terms of like materials on hand. The question is, can I translate my own personal skill into the cards on the table against another person?
This is
in a consecutive way.
This is like straight. I actually think it's kind of fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Like is any part of you, like, could you be willing to say that your goal would be to compete on the professional level?
Absolutely.
That is amazingly
Yes,
cool.
yeah.
That is amazingly cool.
Absolutely. That would be so cool to me to like actually go in and be able to like qualify for something and compete in like an actual big way.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
I will help you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Everything I can do. I mean, this is like I can't really be I don't have the skill to like quite be at like a coach. But I can be like the ringside guy with the coin in boxing that, like, you know, if you come back and you need like to stop her or something, it's like I'll have a water bottle and
There you go. Here we go.
in a rag and stuff and a stool probably.
Yeah.
We can get matching jackets.
That sounds good.
I'm here for I'm on support.
Yeah.
I'm running support.
Do we need jerseys?
Probably we do need jerseys at some point in time.
Probably.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to. I feel like the number one thing you need. The great thing is that Pokemon has like an online client where you can play lots of games against people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Just get lots of like reps in. But it is very different once you play like in person.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of like reading the opponent and stuff.
It does feel like way more emotion could be involved.
There
like,
is a lot more pressure, and I think people make misplays way more often in person because they're not sitting comfortably at home, thinking carefully, like, oh, this is probably maybe that's best. I don't know. It's very, yeah.
Yeah, it makes so much sense because before we ever did the podcast, we did a very long series on our gaming channel where we would play Rocket League or Mario Kart or Super Smash Brothers, where we would go on and we would like answer fan submitted questions while also playing the game. And not only did it make the game 10 times harder to play because you were distracted by answering the questions, but it made answering the questions 10 times harder because you were also focusing on playing the game.
Yes.
And so as a result, I always felt like that was like wearing ankle weights for what we do now with the podcast, because it was sort of like once those came off, you were sort of like, I feel lighter. I feel it's like, you mean all I have to do is focus on the conversation? It's like, no problem. This is going to be great.
We got it.
So I felt like it was just like an immense amount of training. But so yeah, same thing. Okay. This is good. It hadn't occurred to me that you could still become a pro.
Oh,
but like,
it's very possible, right? I think so.
And you've got this like strategizing mind, and oh man, I'm like seeing it all come together. I have so much faith in you. I can't even tell you.
Well, the thing is, it's like it's been very difficult to gauge what my skill is at all because there's a very limited player pool, and I think probably because people are not interested in playing for like non-official like sanctioned events,
right?
Because there's no chance to like score points. It's just like, am I just gonna go waste my weekend just to go play car? I don't know.
Go play some street ball.
Go play some street ball. Yeah, like get me in a league, dude.
Right.
I think that's what people have been holding out for. And if you go online, it's also very difficult because like the people who are playing online at any like they very much almost always know what they're doing to some extent.
Well, and that's sort of the interesting thing too, because and I think you're exactly right when you talk about that idea of like going off the screen and onto like a real world interactive environment, because I bet like poker can be a lot like this. Like tons of people play online poker.
Yeah.
But then like the ability to go and be the person who's like sitting in the chair and like keeping like a calm, cool, collected appearance and like sending all of the proper signals that you think you're sending to the other people.
Right.
And, like you're taking some of the statistics out of it. You're literally putting the human element back into it.
Yeah.
And that'll be curious to see how you hold up in that. I feel like probably we need to be like, sitting on top of a mountain in like a rainstorm type of situation,
Like playing cards?
Like playing cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like really like bring the elements.
Make it really difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then when you're down there, no big deal.
No big deal. It's going to be
what's.
fine. Okay. I'll think of my regime.
Okay.
We'll come up with something. But
Cool.
speaking of this though, so the next piece of it that I think is kind of interesting is like, I would say that a huge part of our career as it exists right now is that like we are living inside of like the age of nostalgia, right? Like
there is a huge market for nostalgia because of the internet in a way that nostalgia has always existed, but the internet has made it so much of a bigger thing for our generation than I think it has been for any other generation.
Yes. And so your concept of sort of like the seed that never got like properly like the opportunity to grow, but like still like the pot got bigger and bigger and bigger as time went on.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that because I think that so much of what we love about nostalgia is that sense of like, oh my gosh, like, do you remember this from childhood? Because I had completely forgotten about it, but now it's back and now I'm getting to like re-enjoy it again. And it's like you're enjoying it now because you remember enjoying it then.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the things that I'm curious about is that we grew up during the period of time that like the home computer became a thing. Like,
right.
Not every house, like when we were kids, like I remember a period of time when not every household had computers, let alone internet.
Oh, absolutely. Same. I remember, going to friends' houses and they had like a word processor,
Yes.
that would it was a monitor with a keyboard, but it could do nothing except type documents on a black with green writing on a black screen.
Yes. Yeah. Very simple. So my curiosity here is that kids that are growing up now that have like a greater exposure to like way more media, like maybe even like a good example of this is quite literally what we do, the Super Carlin Brothers channel. Like there's like the one thought that maybe people of any age or whatever will outgrow it for a period of time. And then maybe like if we're still doing this 10 years from now, they'll be like, wow, these guys, I remember them. Like there's the possibility of that being nostalgic, but I also am curious, like if we never went away, if we just sort of like persevered, or even because there's such a sea of available media to consume, will there be that same like common ground available for people to then later connect over all of these things again?
Like the amount of things you can be nostalgic about for us is pretty large, but still fairly limited.
Exactly.
Because like most kids growing up had a ton of shared experiences because the internet didn't exist. So like either you were a Nickelodeon kid or you were a Disney kid.
Exactly.
And like, yeah, you've watched all the content that came on that channel all the time, or
right.
Or you were really into Pokémon, or you were really into Power Rangers, or whatever it was.
Right. But like the available list of things was maybe less total, which also maybe allowed for a greater amount of like crossover. Like maybe you were like a Nickelodeon kid, but also saw like a lot of the classic Disney Channel movies or something like that. Or you're familiar with a couple of shows, across platforms or whatever. But on the whole, those shared experiences, there were few enough of them that so many people filled each of the buckets that now as we are older, the buckets are so large that those groups of people can still like re-find each other and be like, oh my gosh, like I loved loving this thing.
Yeah.
And so I guess the question is that in today's world, I mean, there are like millions of YouTube channels. I don't know about millions, but a lot of YouTube channels that have more than 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about like almost an unlimited amount of available stuff to have been interested in, that I'd be curious if it'd be way harder as people got older to find those same common shared experiences with each other again.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought. Like it's such a, like you can be so niche about your interests like so immediately.
Yes.
About things. My wonder there, and just off the top of my head, is whether or not it gets like a funnel sort of effect. Like maybe like would people be nostalgic, not necessarily over like the Super Carlin Brothers, but just like watching YouTube.
Yes. Right. Or in the same capacity that there could be like an entire generation that might fondly remember like Vine or like TikTok or scrolling on Instagram.
Right. Like it gets like consolidated like down to like the specific platform itself, or even if you have like, for argument, like 1 million YouTube channels, like most of them probably are not like completely unique shows based solely on the individual uploading its personality that is its own complete brand of content. Like there's, gonna be 100 hyper successful like golf YouTube channels or off-roading YouTube channels, and it's like what the interest then is off-roading, not necessarily like your experience watching this particular channel about golf or something.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Like you might just refer back to, oh my gosh, I remember when I was in high school and I watched all these golf videos on YouTube. Like, no way, I watched golf videos on YouTube too. And it's like that you could be watching completely different people, but both of those people are probably offering in the same genre similar tips, ideas, approaches, whatever the case may be.
I used to do all these club reviews, and every time someone would review a new club, I'd be like, I have to go get it right now. And like, oh yeah, I remember doing that too.
Right.
I had like this whole list of people I watched, and they would all be like, yes, I love this thing at the same time. And I'm like, now I gotta go get it.
Okay, you want to know?
Why are we talking about golf?
I don't know. I don't want golf as the example. Neither of us is into golf. One of the things I've been very curious about too is Facebook, because Facebook is this like mega platform. You know, it's sort of no matter what, it will go down in social media history, but it's had like an odd effect where it gained massive popularity like with college age students, because you used to have like you used to have a .edu email address in order to even sign up for Facebook. And then it sort of like expanded out, and it seemed like, you had people like recently out of college, people who are in college, and then like migrating backwards to people like who were in high school.
Right.
But then there was sort of like the like morphing of how people wanted to use social media. So like maybe our like the parents' generation may have found their way onto Facebook, but they were finding their way there as many people were then wandering off into Snapchat or Instagram or TikTok or Vine or any of the other platforms. So many people left Facebook, and the joke is always that like our parents' generation joined Facebook, and therefore the rest of us left Facebook. But what I actually think happened is that there's more of like an evolution of understanding what is useful about a social media platform. And I think that as time has gone on, it maybe slowly became the case that the thing that people really wanted was to be able to share pictures. So more than anything else, more than all of the other like details, like the dashboard that Facebook would give you of information about a person.
Right.
So what I almost think is that parents sort of got the idea, and they were like, oh, this is cool. Like, we can connect with these people. It's a fun way to like share photos, doing all this stuff. Meanwhile, we're all sort of like, well, we don't need all the extra stuff anymore. We don't want all the accessories.
Right.
Photo sharing is really like what we're after here.
It just, like initially it was so much a different, like it was a way to communicate with other people. And like today, it feels much more like a way to just share yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like less person to person and much more almost like person to
crowd.
The ether. Yeah. But what I've been curious about this is I would not be surprised if people maybe who are listening who are in like high school age maybe don't even have a Facebook. Like, I think that probably there was a generation where it ceased to be the case that every single person had one still.
But it's like I assume you're right that probably high schoolers today aren't all about Facebook, but it's really just it's just to fill in the blank. Like, they don't all have Facebook, but like they do. It's just not Facebook.
Sure. But so my curiosity here is that because like Facebook is this like mega giant company, it's like it's insanely popular. They've got like millions of daily users, like all that type of stuff, and probably most people have one. But my curiosity would almost be that if there was a generation that stopped accepting it, then there would also probably be an eventual expiration date on the platform. Now, to be fair, Facebook also owns Instagram. So chances are the platform you went to, they still own it. So there's that. But what I think would be kind of interesting would be if there was ever a resurgence of people coming back to Facebook.
Oh.
Almost like in the same way that you almost certainly had that like one kid that you went to high school with, or like the crowd of people that were like 80s rock is the only way to go, like,
yeah.
And they liked all the classic stuff, and they thought all of the current music was like, that's not music. But of course, now we look back at the things that people were saying wasn't music then, and we're like, now these are the classics.
Yeah.
Which will be the case, rinse and repeat throughout history forever.
That's how music works.
Yes. So anything that stood the test of time is a classic, basically.
Right. But I mean, this is exactly what happens to every like student ever between like their childhood and like college, I think, is that you have all the stuff you really love, and then you start to like grow up, become a teenager, and suddenly you're like, the very last thing you want to be associated with at all is anything that makes you seem like all those little kids over there.
Yes.
And so you just abandon that, hard stop, all that is just dead to you. And then you sort of like go through that entire teenage phase, and you grow up and you're like, you know what? It really, you like kind of like mature out of that way of thinking.
Right.
Just sort of like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. Like,
I enjoyed that thing.
I
it makes me
enjoyed
happy
that thing.
to enjoy that
and,
thing.
Yeah, and then you start being nostalgic about those things, and then that's when like I feel like this is what everyone's. I think Pokemon. I know we talk about Pokemon a lot in here. I saw this happen with tons of people with Pokemon specifically, or like just the Nintendo 64. A lot of people this would happen to.
Sure.
Like it was a thing everyone had as a kid. When you became a teenager, it was like, okay, that's kind of maybe like more like the kiddie platform. I've got like my Xbox now and I play Halo, bruh. But then you got to college and it was like, well, I had to leave the Xbox at home because my brothers still use it, and that's like the family game system.
Like console, yeah.
But no one played the N64, so I was just like, oh, I'm going to bust these games back out. And suddenly it's just like way back in vogue, and it's like,
yes.
all of a sudden it's super cool again. And then you have new memories about playing those things in college, and it just remains cool again. Because now you're not like afraid of being, I don't know, shamed for enjoying N64, because these were decisions you made as an adult.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So... But I suppose like my underlying question there would be that like, would there be a period of time where we have all left Facebook for so long that we then go back to it?
That's a very interesting question, and I can see something like that happening where like you got onto it early back in college, and then you was like, okay, it kind of turned into something you didn't like. All these other platforms were there. You were like, that was cool, but then you get to like 40, 50, and you're like, man, you know what? This is a great way to connect with people I used to know, and it's very useful and has lots of options, and I used to have so much fun on. I can see that. Yeah.
It's like I went back and I liked a bunch of photos today. It was awesome.
Yeah.
The thrill.
Doesn't have to be Facebook's just like our placeholder example. I mean, I think it could be anything from like Twitter or Instagram. Fill in the blank there.
Yes.
But I think you're right. Something like that. I think that is very possible.
The idea of vintage apps.
Or
like an app that's been around for so long. There's like novelty to the fact that it's so old and simple.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Right? Like will Angry Birds ever re-release the original Angry Birds?
Yeah.
Because you can't even download Angry Birds 1 anymore.
Right.
It's just 2, which is so lame.
But how many different ways can you buy the original Super Mario?
Right. Like a bazillion.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's re-available on everything.
Guarantee you at some point, every app out there, like within a 5-year period, will revert to their original app release icon.
Yep.
Guarantee you that, because you know what? Instagram for a while had this little Easter egg, maybe they still do, where you could change it back to like the old non-terrible dead camera on a rainbow background.
Yes.
Yeah, that one, the current app thing, terrible. Hate it.
I'm very much aware of your emotions about the new Instagram.
But for a while, you could change it back to the old one. It would look like a little leather camera thing.
Well, it's great.
Yeah, it was great, and I did, and I loved it. And then recently, I think that I must have updated past that functionality, because now it's back to dead camera. But whatever.
It's sadness.
It is. By the way, if you haven't thought about the Instagram app looking like a camera died on a tie-dye background, now you won't be able to unsee it. It looks like someone drew a chalk outline of the dead camera.
Of
the old logo.
Like
You're welcome.
Like in like a thriller,
like a crime scene situation.
Yeah, like where they draw like this, like the.
They literally that's basically what happened, as far as I could tell. They took their old, perfectly amazing logo, they killed it, they outlined it in chalk, and we're like, this is the new logo.
This is what we're left with.
This is what we're left with.
Oh,
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Okay, I absolutely think you're correct. I think eventually the day will come when all of the apps will just go back to the original, and it will feel so like fun and happy and cool.
You'll be like, whoa, this is so fun. I changed it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's really just the thing. It's like anything you think you're outgrowing, what's really happening is that it's falling into the valley that exists between initial enjoyment and eventual nostalgia.
Yeah, you're right. Things like social media, like even the concept of social media hasn't been around long enough for it to like fall into that valley. But the idea of like vintage social media, that's totally going to be a thing.
Totally a thing.
Totally going to be a thing.
Will MySpace make a return?
Absolutely not. That's dead forever.
It's like, and let's not go that far. Let's not go that far.
Don't be ridiculous. MySpace is dead.
Nostalgia has its limits, people.
Come on now, all right?
Okay. Good deal.
But see, because this is the thing, is that like, who even knows in what ways you'll be interacting with social media in the future? You know, maybe like the idea that you're interacting with it on a phone or like on a screen that sits in front of you will just be incredibly outdated.
Well, that's the thing with all like shows and movies and everything. It's like if you go back and watch any show, even from from 2012.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the phones were so different then that even that it's like, wow, this is old.
What is a great show for this is Gossip Girl.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is fantastic to watch that show because the whole show is semi about like all the social media stuff happening where I'm sure you guys know what Gossip Girl's about. But if you don't, the whole point is that it's these hyper rich kids on the Upper East Side in Manhattan, and they're all like, because they have such high profile parents, there's this website called Gossip Girl that just watches them and will receive tips via like text message from all the other kids. So like it will just spread rumors, and it's like this hyper powerful website that you can get blasted on and stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's like good to be seen positive, but bad to be seen negative.
But like this is so funny that a website like that would even need to exist. Like now, you know, like now there's just Twitter. Like you don't need to send in your hot take to the Gossip Girl website to have it blast someone. You can just personally post it to Twitter and it will be seen by the whole school anyway.
Right.
Like you don't need Gossip Girl anymore. But that's not what I was talking about. What I'm talking about is that you're seeing these extremely, extremely privileged high schoolers who have anything they could possibly want. And it's funny to watch those kids have like non-smartphones, like have what must be considered the best phones.
Yes, absolutely. For the time. Yeah,
for the time.
So that would be curious. Do they ever get to the point where they're like holding iPhones?
I don't think so. I think, well, see, this is part of I think I will say maybe it suffered from, that was obviously the perception of the kids in the show was that they would have the best thing. And since like their phones were such a iconic way in which they interacted with the Gossip Girl website, like it made cell phone companies really pay for advertising to have their phones be the ones the characters were using.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Interesting.
So it's possible that they're like, oh yes, of course, the richest, coolest kids in New York City are using the Envy.
The latest from Nokia.
The latest from Nokia. Of course, that's what they're using.
Right.
Yeah, and that would make you want to use it, right? I'm sure it did.
I'm sure it was very effective.
In fact, I'm positive that at one point my wife Beth and Blair Waldorf were using the same phone.
No.
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been really cool for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like to brag, but have you seen my wife's phone?
By the way, though, if you haven't watched Gossip Girl, you should totally watch it because it's an amazing show, and despite the cell phone aging poorly, it's still very engaging.
The thing I always remember about Gossip Girl is going back to after I left, when I was getting out of high school, I'm obviously 18 years old, and mom and dad like made a deal with me that like if I didn't go to like the like beach week, you know, which is where everybody goes to beach houses and stuff, they were like, we will take you to the Florida Keys and you can go snorkeling. Because even since I was a little kid, I was really into aquariums. So the opportunity to get to go, it's come up. The opportunity to get to go and see some of the fish that like I had in my tanks and stuff out in the real world was extremely enticing to me.
Yeah.
And we did collect like some sea urchins, and I think I caught one fish. A Beau Gregory damsel, as it were.
Do you still have it?
I don't, but I burnt my back so badly catching it. I was just like standing in this like little ravine, like moving through, and I eventually got it in a net. And I don't think I've ever been so proud of myself ever. It was like, I did it. Like I caught a small fish that was like in a rock crevice.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. So I got it home. It was really cool. Anyway, it was really cool. But while we were there, I remember that it was like the first time ever that me and you were like in the room when you had your laptop from college, and we were like, we watched Gossip Girl, and that's like what I was doing as an 18-year-old on my substitute beach week.
Yep.
We watched Gossip Girl.
We did.
Good stuff.
We did.
Good stuff.
Very enjoyable show. Which, by the way, if you watch any show at all on the CW right now, it's just Gossip Girl.
Oh, really?
Like, I guarantee you.
Oh,
like,
yes. I understand what you mean.
Not that every show, like if you watch any show like on the Arrowverse, like Arrow or The Flash or Legends, it's all just Gossip Girl. Like, let me tell you what happened is that in 2006 or 2007, whenever that show came out, the CW realized they like caught fire and they were like, we have lightning in a bottle here, people. Every show from now on will be this with a different skin. And that's still what's happening.
Yes, we'll take the Flash, same formula.
Yes.
Arrow, same formula.
It's all the same. It's all Gossip Girl.
It's all
It's just now they have a bow and arrow, but it's the same thing.
Yeah. So if you want to watch the OG, that's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, so changing gears, 1,000%.
Okay.
Wait,
we're off the east side.
Now we're back to underground weightlifting.
Oh,
because
okay.
That was the obvious tangent from Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Okay, so sort of, not really, but kind of. So the gym that we go to is a very small gym. Our friend Gabriel runs it, and it is quite literally underground.
Yeah, it's in a basement.
It's in a basement, and it's like not
a big basement.
It is a big basement. I mean, there's all the equipment and everything down there, but it's you work like very directly with Gabriel, so it's like me and you and him that are down there at any like for our sessions and stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the things about weightlifting, because I have now been doing it for probably like 5 years, maybe, but at absolutely no point in time have I ever really been able to like establish a goal within weightlifting.
Oh, really?
And then like do the goal. Yeah, like probably the biggest thing that I would say is that at no point in time in my weightlifting career have I ever lifted more weight than I expected myself to ever be able to lift.
Oh, okay.
So like I don't think I've ever been surprised that I've done anything with weights ever. It's all been at least within keeping, which is also to say that like nothing I've done has been that remarkable on the whole. There's that. But we stuck with it for a long period of time. We've been doing it for a long period of time. But so the other night I was talking to Alice, and this is like a very twofold, goofy topic. But one thing I've wanted to do for a very long period of time is get a tattoo, and I don't know of what, or like where to start, or even the like slimmest idea of what it would be. I've just aspired to do it.
You just there.
Yeah. And so I was trying to be like, okay, like what would be a good way I could connect like my workout goals with getting a tattue?
Oh,
like,
okay. Why do these two things have to be connected?
I don't know.
Okay.
Physique purposes, maybe.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I honestly, probably because anytime I'm doing one thing, I need to be doing two things is really the answer to the question.
I'm starting to see why you haven't hit any of your goals.
Yeah, maybe. But so the Alice, like it's a bridal shop, so she has like these tape measurer things.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I was looking at I was like, okay, like if I was gonna get like a half sleeve tattoo, like a big one.
Yeah,
like if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, and it's like one of those things where it's like if you're gonna do that, I was like, okay, but like maybe I want to make my arms a certain size. So I was like, Allie, can you like measure my arm? And so we're like, okay, that makes sense. We're like writing all the notes down and everything.
Measure your arm like from like wrist to shoulder, or from like
around my bicep,
like around your okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, I would say, probably one of the top 3 most vain moments of my entire life.
Because you had so many veins bulging out.
Hey.
Oh, that's your Cordy joke for the day, people.
That was good. That was good. That was man, I'm very impressed. But yeah, so like I'm standing in my kitchen, and Alice is like literally laughing at me while she's like taking measurements and writing them down. And we're doing the whole thing. And so I was like, okay, like how big should my arms be? Like there must be a metric for this. Like there must be something that people are like going for, right? And so the answer we found is that like I think and this is not for like all people. Like I don't think that this should be like your standard as to what
I'm
is
so
good.
curious.
What
is the should?
The goal that people are going for is your
what people?
What I don't know. them. Those people.
They. Okay.
Of course, yeah. So anyway, the measurement is if you get the diameter of your wrist and then your bicep size to be aesthetically pleasing, I guess. I'm feeling really like,
man.
I think I'm sweating.
Jazzy J, people. Jazzy J.
Okay, yeah, I'm digging my own grave here. Okay, then you would take that number and it would be your bicep diameter would be 225% of your wrist.
Of your wrist.
Diameter.
Okay.
So currently my bicep is 13.25 inches.
Wow. Flex much?
What?
What?
That is flexed. According to this metric, I would need to get to 17 inches.
Oh my gosh.
So like
that is such a bigger arm.
It is such a bigger arm.
It is such a bigger arm.
It is so much bigger that I'm like, I'm not close. I'm not close. But
what would it take to get? That's 4 inches of diameter.
Which
that is massive. Have you told Gabriel this?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I don't want him to laugh at me.
Okay.
Which he might do.
7. I can't even like. I mean, that's just. It seems like a lot of extra. I mean, of course, it's growing in every direction. It's not just like 4. It's not
Right.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing, and I did this once upon a time, and so this is. I mean, I'm probably just. I need to stop doing this. But once upon a time, early in SCB, I remember I was like, we will never get to 1 million subscribers. Like, that will not happen. I do not expect it. That, like, again, this is like the shooting for the moon. And I was like, if we do, I'll get a tattoo of grizzly eagle shark, because it's always tattoos.
Yeah.
Because someone had also sent us a really spectacular drawing, very detailed, of a grizzly eagle shark, which was like the mascot of the show at the time. Anyway, again, last night I was like, okay, if I can somehow reach the unattainable goal of a 17-inch bicep, then I can get my tattoo. And so once again, I'm like, okay, this will work. I have data. I have information, and I'm a goal-oriented person.
Okay.
As long as the goal involves accomplishing many goals at the same time.
Right, and a tattoo at the end.
It's always the finish line.
Yeah.
It's always.
Even though you didn't get the tattoo.
I didn't get the tattoo. Yeah. So, but maybe I will this time. Maybe this time will be different. Do you think, or maybe not?
I mean, I'm curious to see what your arm. I don't think your arms would fit in the shirt you're wearing if they were 4 inches wider in diameter.
Yeah, I don't think they would either.
Yeah.
But how cool would that be?
That if you had to like get new shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's cool.
I'd be like, well, it's like I out muscled them.
Yeah, out muscled them.
I can't fit my arms through the arm tubes anymore.
Arm tubes. The sleeves.
Sleeves.
Yeah, sleeves. There you go.
Anyway, so goals, Jay.
Some goals. So 17-inch biceps
yes.
for you.
Yes,
That's
and yours is
goal.
to become a professional Pokemon trading card game player.
I feel like I want to measure what my arms are now. Would you be astounded if they were already 17?
Yeah. I'd be astounded.
You'd be astounded.
But I mean, maybe not though.
I doubt it.
Yeah, you have more of a tight end build than I do. I'm more of a kicker. Speaking in football terms,
it occurs to me that this could be a moving target, because as you potentially increase the mass of muscle on your bicep, it seems like you could also build it on your forearm, thus increasing the size of your wrist.
That's a good point that I haven't thought about.
Like, you might start out aiming for 17, but by the time you're there, you're like, well, butts. Now I'm actually aiming for 19 because my wrist got thicker.
Okay, how about this for the quest?
Okay.
How about we make it a competition to see who can accomplish their goal first? You becoming a professional trading card game player and me reaching a 17-inch bicep.
What counts as becoming a professional trading card game player? That I win any amount of cash?
No, I feel like it has to be like it needs to be whatever the I would imagine it being like the like precipice of the sport. So like if you go and compete in like a district and then a region and then like a division, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Like I think whatever all of those are going to, whatever nationals is.
Worlds.
Okay, and how many people compete at Worlds?
I don't know.
Do you think that would be like a comparable task to my 17-inch bicep?
It feels harder.
It feels harder.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Because so like conceivably, in my mind, it would be like top 100 people in the game is Worlds.
Well, you gotta like I know that Worlds in particular is especially difficult for because of course you have to go from I think regional to national to Worlds.
Okay.
I think is how it would go, and so the issue ends up being that because the North America national is really has a humongous pool of players.
Okay.
Whereas like maybe like the Australian national has a much smaller pool.
I see.
So it's really hard to qualify out of America.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. And we can't move countries.
I don't think so.
Confirmed. Okay.
That's okay. Here's the thing. I mean, the flip side of that is, of course, that because you have more players, the level of competition is higher. So it's less likely. It's more likely then that like an American player will win outright because they're playing against higher caliber players all the time.
That makes sense.
However,
Okay.
Henry Brandt is the longest reigning Pokemon World Champion because of COVID. He's gotten to hold his title longer than anyone else because they haven't been able to have another World, and he's from Australia. So
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Good on you, Henry.
Good. That's so cool. Yeah. Shout out if you're tuning in at the moment. Okay, I'm gonna go with some version of being paid to play Pokemon cards in like a very competitive sense.
Okay.
Maybe like a trophy or
okay
of some kind. Like, and I feel like it's got to be like I think it has to be bigger than competing in like a Roanoke level.
Okay.
Like if that
like
makes
we had
sense.
to travel to compete.
We had to travel to compete. Yeah, we're in like Las Vegas for like a major tournament. Could it be televised? Are they ever
certainly
televised?
they will be like I doubt televised, but certainly streamed. I'm
Streamed.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That happens. Stuff like that happens.
Okay. I feel like I like this.
Okay.
And then you'll get a tattoo of a Pokeball.
If I won like a national tournament in Pokemon cards, for sure I would. Sure, I'll get a Pokemon tattoo.
Y'all heard it here first. Goodness gravy! I've never been so excited in my entire life, and I'm gonna help you along your way
All right.
because it will be worth it. It will be worth it. And then
I feel like we have enough friends interested that we could have like a dedicated like team, if you will, to like prep together and like get each other better.
Yeah,
I
definitely think this is the case.
I think it can happen.
Okay,
we could have jerseys.
We're gonna have to
teams something.
Do you think we can make the jerseys available to everybody so
I don't see why
they
not.
can join the team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I'm liking every ounce of this, but in the meantime, if you would like to be a part of a different team, we have some really cool exclusive merch things that are coming to the quarterly merch tier over on Patreon.
Yes.
And right now we are in a very interesting sliver of a window where opportunity is great because for the second quarter of this year, we had made the Popcorn Culture One True Host trophy into a plush. Those have officially been created. They have been shipped to our distribution warehouse, and they should be shipped out here shortly.
You should be getting them.
Yes.
So you might even already have them.
Possible, but this also means that we were very late on announcing what the Q3 item was going to be because we really wanted that to be resolved and finished before we stepped into the next one. So that being said, I'm going to get it correct this week because last week we called it a lithograph. It is in fact a litograph hoodie of the entire episode of The Element of Surprise is going to be printed all over a hoodie, and then the negative space of all of those words will say the words pop pop.
It's gonna look awesome.
It's gonna look incredibly cool. It's
Really
gonna be on a
cool.
very high quality hoodie, so it will be soft and cozy and comfy and warm and perfect for the fall and cold months that are ahead. Also, because we are now officially inside of the fourth quarter of the year, we have been able to announce what the Q4 merch item is going to be, which is a pressed vinyl record with an exclusive episode of Popcorn Culture on it, and it will be the only way that you can access that episode. There will not be a digital form of this episode.
I'm excited about that.
Bonus points. The record glows in the dark.
It's gonna glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Glow in the dark vinyl recording of Popcorn Culture. available only on vinyl.
Yes, so if you would like to check those things out, you can do so at patreon.com/popcornculture. Otherwise, if you have any feedback about the show and you want to send it in, you can do so to popcornculturepod@gmail.com. We're also over on Twitter and Reddit if you just want to get a part of the bigger conversation with other little kernels out there in the world. All that said, until next time, pop pop!